David, tell me a little bit about how this coaching model came about.
I started coaching about 10 years ago, and I decided to make coaching my profession, and originally started out as an executive coach, worked with a whole lot of people, and I found that I was able to make a really big difference in people's performance and achieving their goals just by being there and helping them think things through over time. And really they achieved some amazing results. And it became clear to me quite quickly that the concept of having a solutions focus, sounding board, was really missing in the workplace. People were under more and more pressure to think clearly, more and more pressure to make better decisions. The knowledge economy was growing, so I saw that as a trend. And in just after the mid-90s, I decided to make this my profession and my career. And I started to train people in the concepts of coaching and started to study the field and train quite slowly. We started. And my passion all the way through has been how do you coach, basically how do you coach really, really well? Like most conversations kind of seem to go in circles. You have this desire to help someone make a decision, right? And you sort of think, well, this will take 5 minutes. And then you sit down and 45 minutes later, you sort of got lost and you've covered all these other topics, and have you really helped them, make a decision? And I wanted to work out how do you have really powerful conversations really quickly. So I spent about, all up about 5 or 6 years teaching people and then watching what they would do and then watching what worked and then getting them to try things on me. And over time, I found this kind of path of least resistance, almost like a process map for the conversation that was really, the shortest distance from A to B. That makes sense. So I found this way of doing that. And what's really central to that is, I found, is actually helping someone else think more clearly rather than actually thinking for them. And that's probably been one of the biggest insights about this process. I could sort of summarize it like this: if the issue is this plant, on the table, when I coach, what I do is I don't think about this plant and try and work out what the right answer is and then convince you, which is what most people do when they coach. I try to help you think about this plant kind of more efficiently, maybe more clearly, more openly, with different perspective, just more effectively, so in some way. And then as a result of that, my experience has been that that you then have this great idea that comes about through this process. And I find that's much faster than me trying to work out what the answer is and then arguing with you about whether to do that or not. So that's kind of how the process has worked through. And we've trained thousands of people now in that process, and people find they can have this quite quick conversation that moves people into action and really energizes everyone. And
one of the things I notice as you work with people is that you don't give advice. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I guess I turned one of my biggest weaknesses into a strength. I'm one of those people that from a very young age just didn't like being told what to do. And I'm probably even worse than that, is I don't like being told how to think either. And they're sort of the same thing, but maybe being told how to think is even worse. And people seem to think that I can't tell, but I think we can all tell when someone's trying to tell us, how to think. I can really pick it up. We all can, I'm sure, but really pick it up. So I basically developed a coaching model that I liked. When we first started to develop these ideas in the mid-90s, I would coach some people, then I would ask them to coach me, and I would see all the things that they would do that I really didn't like. And every piece of advice someone would give me, I would recoil, from. And every piece of advice that was, couched as a question, I could pick up immediately, and I would recoil and be annoyed. So, I would notice these things, and it became really clear to me that an absolute base level of competency for coaching had to be, the other person just absolutely felt in charge of the conversation the whole time. And every time I put my agenda in and tell you what I think, you could really see the person I'm coaching actually recoil. So, as I said, I've turned my weakness into a strength and worked out how to build a way of having dialogues like that. And I think, most people in organizations are pretty smart these days. They're independent thinkers, strong-willed people. And the more senior you go in an organisation, the less you can tell people what to do. So, you know, the model I've developed is about helping people to think better for themselves rather than, you know, telling them, you know, what they should do in any way.